Hello and welcome back to my humble show. I gotta go here in a moment. My cats are pestering me. This one here in my lap, and the other one tearing up pieces of paper as I speak because she's disgruntled with the fact that I'm not paying her as much attention as I'm paying you. Like, subscribe, and enjoy the ride. I just want to make a comparison between something Oprah Winfrey said and something Elon Musk said. What? Yeah, interesting comparison, I know, but just yesterday, Oprah Winfrey suggested that if Donald Trump wins the election, we'll never be able to vote again. Some people were suggesting that she just meant that women will never be able to vote again. It can also be interpreted as her saying that no one will be able to vote ever again for reasons which no one seems to understand, especially considering how he was already president once and she herself is now voting. Yeah, funny how that works. Fact check. But yeah, I do have a fact check, speaking of fact checks, to share with you right now on a related note. Somewhat related. So check this out. Trump once received a letter from Oprah saying they'd make a great political team. Ooh. So that was the question. And this here is the fact check from Snopes. Fact check true. Look at that. A photo of them having a good time. In the background, you can see a portion of that letter. It's shown below, and there is the true marking. Not that I always trust what Snopes has to offer. There you see it, and if you can't read it, well, it's in proper text below, so let me read it. Donald, I have the book excerpt. I have to tell you, your comments made me a little weepy. It's one thing to try and live a life of integrity. Still another to have people like yourself notice. Thank you. Signed, Oprah. Too bad we're not running for office. What a team. Woo-hoo-hoo. Yeah, once upon a time when he was running or considering running as a reformed party politician, he was talking about how she would make a great hypothetical, theoretical VP for him. So they were thick as thieves back then. Oh, how the times have changed. Now she is claiming, or at least suggesting, that if he wins this election, we'll never be able to vote again. Or at least she will never be able to vote again. Yeah, she loves to lump herself in with those whom she calls victims. But I guess if Donald Trump is the president, then we're all victims, according to her. So here is the clip, 11 seconds. This posted by the Trump War Room account. Oprah claims, we will not have the opportunity to ever cast a ballot again unless Kamala wins. These people are completely delusional, deranged, and utterly pathetic. Reads the caption. Here's her comment.
If we don't show up tomorrow, it is entirely possible that we will not have the opportunity to ever cast a ballot again. If we don't show up tomorrow, it is entirely possible that we will not have the opportunity to ever cast a ballot again.
All right, that's enough. Enough of you. So she says it's entirely possible. In that sense, I suppose it is. Anything is possible, right? All heck could break loose if he becomes president through no fault of his own, simply because so many people, her included, hate him. So that's also a possibility. Or he will go wild. That's also hypothetically, theoretically possible. I don't really believe it, especially considering the track record. And no, January 6th does not convince me that he's Adolf Hitler. But I'm just saying. As for the comparison, here is something that Elon Musk said on Joe Rogan's podcast over the weekend. And he has actually said this at various rally visits, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I believe he has got on stage at Trump rallies and said the same thing. He has said that this will be the last election if Kamala Harris wins. Okay, this is a slightly longer clip, just over a minute long, I believe. Exactly a minute long. So he actually shared this clip of himself. And Musk says, vote for Donald Trump or the Dems will legalize so many illegals in swing states that this will be the last real election in America. Joe Rogan agrees. And by the way, Joe Rogan, just yesterday, late last night, depending on what part of the country you're in, endorsed Donald Trump. No surprise there, especially after Donald Trump went on his podcast, talked to him for 3 hours, as did J.D. Vance. The same cannot be said of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. They wanted none of that. They tried to do things their own way, and it just didn't work out because that's not how things work on Joe Rogan's podcast. They found the time to go on other shows, and all of those shows combined did not reach the amount of eyeballs which just the one Trump podcast reached. To each their own, but I'm just saying, Harris and Walz both lack authenticity. And they know that, and that's why they think, whoa there, I don't want to go there. I was just listening to Dr. Phil tell Piers Morgan that he reached out to the Kamala Harris campaign 25 times trying to work something out, but they didn't want to have anything to do with him. They kind of led him on for a little while. He at one point gave a speech at a Trump event, and it was a pretty non-endorsing speech, and he actually hit up the Harris-Walz campaign and said that he would be willing to switch the names out and give the same speech for them. And they never got back to him. So, no. They only wanted to sit down and chat with people who were willing to kiss their butts. We saw that started with Oprah Winfrey. Go figure. That town hall and every town hall since, essentially. In my mind, Kamala Harris did one truly tough interview her entire multi-month-long campaign, and that was the one on Fox News. And even that, she showed up late and then cut it short. She had her people waving their arms in the background, just as they would have if she would have gone on with Joe Rogan, although she wanted him to fly to her and for her to have her people set it up and do it her way for an hour at best, which I'm guessing she would have cut short as well. But yeah, back to Joe Rogan's podcast. He had on Elon Musk over the weekend, and that seems to have been the final straw for him. He said that Elon Musk made the most compelling argument he's heard yet, and therefore he endorsed Donald Trump. But here's just a little clip, and you tell me, is this comparable to what Oprah said? Is what Elon said what comparable to what? Let me try that again. Is what Elon said comparable to what Oprah said?
Well, I'll say it again, man. I think this is the last election. If Trump doesn't win, this is the last election.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think people, and a lot of people are waking up and realize that have been lifelong Democrats. Guys like Bill Ackman, guys like Chamath.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, Tulsi Gabbard switched over to the Republicans.
Yep.
Like, there's a lot of people who their whole life they've been left-wing, and they realize, like, I can't do this anymore.
You and I used to be Democrats.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
It's nuts, man. And if the Dems win this election, they will legalize enough illegals to turn the swing states, and everywhere will be like California. There will be no escape.
That is so insane.
This is the final. This is it. This is the last chance.
Has anybody tried
And
to
I
push
just want to
back?
go out and vote. Vote like your life depends on it. Vote like your future depends on it, because it does. This is the last chance, man.
Okay. You get the point. You get the picture. But let me know in the comments below if you think it's comparable to what Oprah said. I know that Republicans hear what she said and respond, has she lost her mind? But then they hear what Elon Musk said, which is essentially a similar sentiment, though for different reasons. And they think, oh, this is a very compelling point. I try not to let the rhetoric get to me either way. Oh, the end is nigh type of talking points don't really faze me all that much. But there is something to what he's saying, right? With all the issues in terms of illegal immigration. Yeah. Suppose the Democrats, suppose Harris, Walz, whoever, provide a pathway to citizenship, as they call it, or mass amnesty, as others call it, and, flip all of the swing states. It's done. That doesn't necessarily mean that there will be no election. It'll just mean that Republicans will not have a chance at winning anymore if that happens. Potentially. Oops. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it is. Oh, there's that word again. A potential. It is a potential. There is a very compelling back and forth between Joe Rogan and John Fetterman from a few days ago. John Fetterman, unlike Kamala Harris, was willing to go there and chat with Joe Rogan. And they had a back and forth for several minutes on immigration. The clip made its rounds on social media, namely X. And it was very compelling. Joe Rogan seemingly backed John Fetterman into a bit of a corner. And, John Fetterman more reasonable on the issue than many of the Democrats. Kamala Harris is now pretending to be reasonable, but she's just not. And as for Oprah Winfrey, I don't know exactly what her reasoning is. I assume she thinks that Donald Trump is just Hitler 2.0 or whatever the Democrat ticket is telling her to believe at this point. And if that sounds ridiculous to you, keep in mind that their latest claim is that he wants generals like Hitler had, and also he hosted a Nazi rally in Madison Square Garden. So I'm not exactly being hyperbolic here to say that they believe Donald Trump will be Hitler 2.0. That's what they say in one way or another. That's what they've been saying. Didn't play out the first time around. COVID hit, and they were like, be more of a dictator. And he was like, no, I don't want to. Everything's going to be fine. And they're like, he just told everyone to drink bleach and didn't do anything about it. Interesting how that played out. They're like, be more of a dictator. He had the perfect opportunity to be a dictator, to establish his dictatorship and rule as an authoritarian. And it did not happen. And yet, here we are, a few years later, and they're saying he's going to be a dictator. He's going to rule with an iron fist. I don't see that happening. I voted for Donald Trump, and, feel free to disagree with me on that decision, but I've made it. So a few hours from now, the vote totals will start being tallied up. Not sure when exactly they'll tell us. Depends on the state. Depends on how close it is, I imagine. How many issues there are. I've heard of some issues with bomb threats. Some issues in my state with the burning of ballot boxes. That's old news at this point. That was over a week ago, I believe. Things could get a little crazy. There are certain businesses in certain cities which are being boarded up in case something breaks loose, something breaks out. Some fences going up in D.C. Of course, this is just one of various big days. After election day, it's a wait until election certification day. We learned all about that on January 6th, back in 2021. And then, of course, after certification, then comes inauguration. We'll see who ends up in the Oval Office. Early voting seems to be suggesting that Donald Trump is doing quite well, but will that mean that he falls off faster this time around? I mean, last time around, his voters weren't exactly encouraged to go out and vote early. So there was a slight limitation to some of the turnout, and it kind of hurt him in the end. So the messaging has changed a bit this time around, though. You know, it has been hit or miss. He hasn't exactly been disciplined at times. Kamala Harris would say that she has been disciplined. I would just say that she is deeply inauthentic and is trying to get away with it. So therefore, the perception of discipline. But yeah, mostly I just wanted to run those two examples, one from each side, of claims about how this could be the last election ever. Which do you think is more reasonable? Do you think either are right? And if so, why? Be happy to hear from you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and enjoy the ride. Keep in touch. Keep in tune. New content is coming soon. I got to go back to work now. I'm probably running late. Also, I'm not feeling all that great today. But I gave it my best shot on like 3 hours of sleep. And half a shift of work. So, peace. Oh, that's embarrassing. I meant to cut off the video, not switch the angles.